All right, guys, it's your spiritual big brother again. We are going to get back into this. I have to keep breaking it up. But why don't we just jump right into it? These are my raw thoughts. I haven't changed any of them. In fact, a lot of these come with grammatical mistakes, so you may hear me slowing down and needing to reread some of these and kind of get back into my train of thought or whatever was going on when I was capturing it. So, that being said, let's get started. Let's get right into it. I think this is part of a series right now, and I think this is going to be part 3. So, let's do it. I think what we create and what we like or focus on becomes what we see today. I'll talk about that. Take, for instance, They Live, They Live, from the late 80s movie about dystopian culture. It looks awfully similar to today. Maybe things haven't changed, or maybe they did. So let's talk about that. I'm not convinced of this. This was just a cool thought. But what I'm saying is, it's possible that maybe some of the stuff that we create culturally becomes a part of society decades later. Take, for instance, They Live. That movie talks about disobedience. And these are things that have probably been in culture and systems for a long, long time beyond that movie and such. But I think when as human beings we can lay it out, which is art, expression, movies, whatever you want to say, when we can clearly express that and externalize what we're going through in that moment of time, I think that opens up people's minds a little bit, and then eventually culture follows that and kind of becomes that. Or maybe it's cyclical. Maybe when we see a movie like that, it opens up our minds and we try to stop doing that. Hard to say exactly. I'm really not too sure, but I noticed that what I was seeing in that movie felt like it was awfully similar to what we see today. So maybe it's always been that way, though. Maybe we're not getting maybe it didn't take gradual time for that to happen. Maybe it's just, that's reality all the time. And maybe they just did it really good at that time. And maybe human history and things that have happened 50 plus years ago, 60, maybe even longer than that, hasn't maybe changed a whole lot. Maybe we just packaged reality a little bit differently, right? Different looking homes, different looking cities, different looking things that we create. But maybe at the core of reality and the systems, maybe not much has really changed in a long, long time. Consider that. I'm inclined to actually kind of believe that. I really do believe that. I know some people think 2,000 years ago, wow, things must have been so much different. Maybe they were as far as what they looked like. Buildings maybe looked a little different. Maybe they were brick instead of mortar. Maybe they were brick instead of steel. But as far as how systems work, as far as culture, politics, religion, spirituality, a lot of other things, I don't think a lot of that stuff has really changed a whole lot. Just maybe different people got different credit for different things, but I think there are a lot of the same stuff. Okay, that's where I was going with that. Okay, I'm a golfer, so golf makes you feel alive. It reminds you what that feels like when your nervous system flares up, or you get anxious, or miss a shot, or leave a putt short. And that is what I'm talking about emotionally, like with pressure in life. I feel like golf helps you remind you moment to moment, and like that there's a bigger picture to the smaller things that are happening. Like you've got 18 holes of golf, and you've got individual shots, different techniques, and all that kind of stuff all throughout the game. And like each one tests you in a different way. You know, you put yourself into a bad position. Can you get yourself out of it? You know what I mean? And you got to use your mind. You got to be a little bit creative, shape a shot. And like, have you had enough practice to even try a shot you're going to do? Maybe you need some luck. Maybe you need some faith. I feel like the game of golf really consolidates everything in a way that I just don't think it does it better than any other game out there. And I think that that's one of the best parts about golf that I really appreciate. And I recommend, if you never went golfing, give it a shot. All right. Next one. Anyone can be whoever they want to be, good or bad, happy or mad. I think we often are mad because people aren't who we want them to be. But I think the reality is sometimes it's the mirror, and we aren't who we want to be. Pack that one in your pipe and smoke it. That is a spiritual lesson condensed down into one line. I am fully in belief of this one, and this is a good one. I'm going to repeat it because that's how good it is. Anyone can be whoever they want to be. Anyone, yourself included, and that guy next to you, the guy down the road, can be whoever they want to be out here. Full stop. Even if you don't agree with it, they can be whoever they want to be. Good or bad, happy or mad. I think we often are mad because people aren't who we want them to be. But I think the reality is sometimes it's the mirror, and we aren't who we want to be. And what do I mean by the mirror? This is one that I've covered. This is probably one that you've heard of before. It's your reflection. When you see somebody else that is living their best life, and they're maybe being a bad person, according to us, subjectively, we see them as a bad person. Maybe once in a while, maybe you want to be a bad person and you want to be open and unrestrained. And I'm not saying go out there and hurt anybody. Of course, that's not. I say that all the time. Don't go out there and hurt anybody. But I think sometimes we see other people doing things that we want to be, and we know what the expectation is, and maybe we get a little jealous. I'm just giving you one instance, but this definitely applies to, I think, everything in life. I have found that to be true with a lot of things. I get emotional seeing other people doing things that I wouldn't do, right? And that makes me mad. And that's the best thing I got. So I need to kind of like learn to accept other people for who they are, and just, that's okay, you know? And I remember when I was growing spiritually for many, many seasons, and, I was expecting others to be just like me, you know? And that's not how it works. But we like to think that when we're growing and we're learning, we want people to see that, and we want people to feel that. And I think that that's part of where we go wrong with that. It's okay to want to embody that, integrate it, show other people, but sometimes other people don't want to know, or they don't care, or they're not ready for that yet, and we need to accept that. So watch out for that mirror. You're going to find that a lot. Anything that's going to make you feel uncomfortable, make you mad, it's probably just reality giving you a mirror of something you probably need to work on, something you need to look on the inside, something that's flawed within you. Okay. Let's move on. Let's see. Even if you're not spreading cheer and good, even blasphemy and evil turns into someone else's lesson or circling test. There's really no way to do life wrong. But be careful, because there can be consequences. I do really like this one, okay? This one is permission from the one that we just talked about. This is basically permission that, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to be a bad person to somebody else's. You're going to be a bad person in their chapter at some point. We get emotional out here. We make mistakes. That's part of learning. If you're not doing it now, you've probably done it when you were younger and you needed to, hey, that was not my best judgment. That wasn't me. I don't know why I was so angry and I took it out on somebody else. You hear what I'm saying? What I'm saying here is you need to realize that just like when somebody wronged you or they did something that you didn't like, and maybe you had to learn from that, right? That's not who I want to be. I just seen some person take all their anger out on me because they were offended by something I said, and they just flipped out, got angry at me, and now I got a lesson from that, right? I got to see how people can be offended by something I've said. Just I'm saying, like, you can learn from somebody else's reactions. But in that same breath, you, even if you're not doing it the best, and even if you have regrets about something you said or the way you made somebody feel, you are somebody else's lesson. Hopefully you never see that person again either. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that you should do it. Okay, I'm not saying go out there and be a bad person. But what I'm saying is forgive yourself for being somebody else's lesson. Okay? It's okay. It's a part of how that person had to learn. You're not perfect. They're not perfect. And that also means if somebody else is flipping out on you, smile. They haven't learned that lesson yet. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's a cyclical one. That was one of the hardest lessons I ever had to kind of really learn, and to articulate it like I did there. That comes with circling that for many years of not being confused, pulling it from different places. You get it. Okay, let's move on. Here's the way I've seen myself and some of the reasons that are clear to me now of why I never really got anywhere with my creations. I was treating each one like a play in football that I was getting ready for. And by the time the play happened, I was still standing there preparing, and it already passed me by. And the next play, and so on. At some point, the preparation needs to drop, and you need to actually play the game, ready or not. Too many people keep preparing and never playing. You got to play the game. This is what I'm talking about with creation or creative pursuits or entrepreneurial pursuits. Whatever it is that you're committing all your time to, at some point, you're going to be scared to start releasing it in front of people. You're going to be very intellectually working on these things, theorizing the way that it should be best. Take, for instance, I'm giving you one small micro piece, but you can apply this to any big project. There's going to be multiple ones like this in it. Let's say that you want to create the perfect class, okay? A course class for online. You're creating the syllabus. You're creating the packets for it. You're creating the perfect, course 1, course 2, course 3, course 4. You hear what I'm saying? What's going to happen is you're going to start wanting to divvy all those things up and do them individually and perfect each one of those. Perfect each one of those. We all do it. And sometimes, you may give yourself like, okay, well, for the syllabus, I'm just going to whip it together, spend a little bit of time on it, and then move on from it. And then so you didn't perfect that. You decided to give yourself some leeway. But then on the course sections, then you decide, hey, I'm going to be perfect on each one of these. And then you overkill it. Do you see how quickly something small, like just it's not really that small. Putting the course together isn't small. But what I'm saying is one project like this, how quickly you can go from, hey, I need to get this thing out, to, man, let me get the perfect course here. I don't want to miss anything. Let me think about it again. What I'm saying is I treat these now with a different mindset. These are like plays in a game, okay? You had time to practice. But at some point, practice is over. You need to play the game. Even if you're not perfect, right? Could you imagine trying to get yourself into peak athletic, condition? You could spend an entire lifetime and never get out on the football field if you really think about it, right? You could spend 40 plus years perfecting your body, doing the perfect clean, getting as much weight as you can up without actually playing the game. Remember that. You got to go out there. You got to play it. You got to put your stuff out there. You got to let people see it. It's not going to be perfect. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be an evolution. It's supposed to keep getting better and better and better. If you had it perfect one time, the first time you get it out, yeah, that'd be great. It's not realistic, though. It's not practical. So keep that in mind. Okay. Oh, I got my crab fingers going. My claws. Me thinking. Me thinky. all right. Let's move on here. All right. Here's a good one. Here's a spiritual one. If there was a God, I just thought about this one yesterday on a bike ride, then he would understand what you're going through and wouldn't judge you. Where I got this thought from, or what it kind of came as a byproduct of, if I remember correctly, I was thinking, and for all of my, God, this is one that's really tough. I'm going to just do it. I'm just going to do it anyways. Tear the Band-Aid off. When it comes to Jesus, I'm not positive of what I feel on that. I don't know where to go with that. I've spent the time to read the Bible. There's a lot of great lessons in there. It's a great book. Jesus was a great teacher. But where I constantly get hung up is when I'm in prayers and I'm doing my nightly ritual, I have a hard time thinking about how I'm a human being that really, really cares, and trying to separate myself and put something between me and God. And that's kind of where I kind of see Jesus. And yeah, I know, right hand of the Father, you could put him next to him in some way, but he's still a human being to me. Even though maybe, I'm not going to go into all the details. Hear what I'm saying? But what I'm trying to say with this is that God would understand the feebleness of who you are, the limitations of your thoughts, and who you are as a person. So that maybe one day you do want to take Jesus, and maybe there is a lot of great lessons, and maybe that is the right way to go. I'm not certain of that yet. I am actively working in that direction to see what I really think once I finish the Bible. And then I want to study it some more, and I want to see what I really think. But right now, before I've gotten there, I don't want to be told what to believe. Do you see the difference there? And I'm kind of stuck with that. But my key part here is that God would understand wherever you're going through, because he designed this world, designed everything. I'm assuming that, of course. Maybe we're in some simulation. Even still, I would see God as a divine programmer. He programmed all this. You see what I'm saying? And maybe he's just energy. Maybe he's not even a person, right? Maybe he's just the intelligent energy that runs through this entire system. The energy in my phone, the energy in me, the energy in nature, whatever you want to call it. Maybe that's just one big energy running through the system. I'm not sure. But I know that even if you're not comfortable somewhere in your own spiritual path, God understands that. So don't be so hard on yourself, is what I'm trying to say. You'll figure it out with time. So, okay. Claws, my claws, the crabby claws, my thinking claws. These are going to be my thinking claws. Okay, I think we're going to end there. It's 20 minutes. I want to stick to that. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. I hope I brought you guys some value. I hope I brought you guys some stuff to think about. I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you guys there.